everybody. I was just waiting for a few more people to come on, but I guess we should get started. Today is March 13th. The AUM for Elephant is at 422.9 million. The Treasury is at 52.6 million. Our trunk supply is at 109 million. And we are staked at 50.19 million. And the trading volume is $670,722, which is a 286.9% increase. Ed, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. What's going on where you are up north there? It's still cold?
No, it's actually beautiful weather today, sunny in the 60s. It should be. So.
Oh, nice. It is pretty nice here too. It's no clouds in the sky. Should be for the good week. They're doing a big boat show here. It's like one of the biggest ones in the country. So all the boats are coming in now to slowly put themselves in their spots in the dock, and all the yachts are pulling in and stuff. So
nice.
Watching. It goes from little boat to bigger boat to yacht to super yacht to big, it goes from smaller to bigger as they get all the boats in. So it's pretty cool to watch. Only like 10 boats here. There's probably going to be like 300. So it's going to be pretty cool to see. Yeah, it's a good show every year. The Palm Beach Boat Show is usually pretty good.
Very cool.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to Twitter Spaces, X Spaces, whatever you want to call it. BT should be jumping on here shortly. Yes, it is recorded. So you can rewind it and listen to it again and play it for somebody else, all that each one teach one out there. And I got to say, man, over the past week, it's been looking pretty good all over the place. If you saw my video from on Sunday, I'm happy because I've been here 5 years now. 5 years was my anniversary, and with hanging out with BT. So I put a little video out for you guys. If you can check in the pin messages on Telegram, just telling you how happy I am and letting you guys know that. There's been many opportunities out there to make plenty of money, no matter what anybody says out there, and all their social media, all the bashers, all the praisers. Either way, there was money to be made as soon as BT put a contract out. And I hope you guys do whatever it takes to educate yourself when it comes to doing something in our ecosystems. It's getting pretty good out there all over the place. Like we got Bitcoin. I think it's around 72,000. Last week it was around 66,000 for our Twitter Spaces, so it hadn't hit that 70 yet. So that's only a 7% rise in Bitcoin, and even for Bitcoin to go to 100K, even if it does, that's a ways up. But that's really just a 40% gain. And that's to get all the way to 100,000. Ethereum, it did hit that 4K mark again and drop back down, but it's only like 3% up for the week. BNB, now that's been moving. While ETH is only using 3% and BTC maybe 7%, BNB was at 429 last Wednesday at this time. It's already up 36%. You got your elephant money up 30% in a week. Your NFTs went from 850 last week to about 1150 right now. So the value of those things, it's just awesome to see. Since we launched the NFTs July 4th, you 5x'd the value of your NFT. And that is really cool. I don't know how many of you have, but I'm sure you've been looking at it every single day, not just the elephant money tokens that you're earning, but just the value itself, just looking at where it says the USD value of it. So that is pretty nice to wake up to when I check my account all the time. If you guys are building your futures account, I see a lot more activity going on now that the V9 is out there. So good props to everybody out there that keeps redeposited and keeps just on the pace that they planned for the first place and their strategy the whole way through. I see 2.28 trunk has been burned so far. Now, last week, I think it was down around 90. Oh, no, you know what? Just in the past 24 hours, I remember I took a screenshot of it. This time, it's 11 o'clock here now, but at noon yesterday, we had 1.994 million trunk burned. We're at now 2.28 million. That's pretty good. 34,000 trunk burned in a day. So that's really, really looking good. And the supply maybe has gone up a little bit. It has, but not as fast as the burn. So that's even better looking for trunk. So if you don't have that bag of trunk, man, you got to get it. It's going to be one of those things. You're going to be pissed that you didn't get more when we kept telling you to get it. And if you did watch my video and I explained to you all the different ways you could have made money with whether it's up 30% in just a week an elephant to, your 5X of your NFT, or if you jumped in Pepe Stake that BT put out, you 10X in the past month, you 100X in the past year. So you name it, it has been happening. It has been going really good in the ecosystem. And I am really, really happy. And I don't know what kind of run this is. If it's just a tiny little run that's going to happen and we're going to slow down, or this is the beginning of something really big, I hope you guys take a step back and go, hey, where am I getting my knowledge from? Where am I learning everything? How am I educating myself? And the decisions I make with my money, how is that happening? Is somebody else influencing me? Is it just based on my knowledge and education? But I think you guys should just stop for a second, take a step back and go, okay, I got to focus. Things are about to kick in here very quickly, very soon. And I need to make sure I'm making the right moves. And I hope you will look forward to the stuff BT tells you with his wisdom and knowledge, not just with elephant money, but throughout all of crypto and his finances. And some of our great content creators that either do live streams, write Medium posts, like Patrick and Zoa and those guys that just keep putting out content. That's the stuff that I think you guys should read and take a few minutes to educate yourself on and get more knowledge on, because I think down the road it will help you, because you can never have enough knowledge, just like you can never have enough elephant. So that's all I'm going to say as far as that kind of little spiel. But I do want to give out the NFT right away this time, because I don't want this thing to do what it usually does. So the very first person to log on today was Scott Deal. Scott, if you acknowledge me, NFT is yours, and send me a message on here or on our Telegram. I'll give you like 30 seconds to make some kind of emoji or do something on there. And if you acknowledge it, I'll give it to you. Scott Deal, can you hear me? All right, I'll give him another second or two. I figured first one in was going to get the prize, and he is not answering me, so I'm going to have to go and pick somebody else. Oh, there it is. Scott, I got you. I was like looking at a timer going 5, 4, 3. All right, Scott, congrats, man. Enjoy that $1,150 worth currently NFT you're going to get. Just contact me on here, man, or on the Telegram. So if anybody wants to jump on before BT, he just left a message in Telegram saying he was jumping on, so I'm pretty sure he will. But if anybody wants to jump on first and comment or anything like that, it's up to from Rugs and Riches crew that are on here right now. Shout out to Crypto Mobile, BlackBerry Guy, Godspeed, and everybody that's been joining in. I don't know what you guys been up to in the markets lately, if you're dipping in some other places or not, if you made some profit. Well, I hope so. Yeah, if you weren't able to capture as much as you wanted, hope you still bring it back here for a little bit until you find another spot that you want to pick to try to hit that home run on. You're going to hit them singles here no matter what. Maybe even hit some doubles and triples. I know some people like to go out there and try to find a home run really fast. Sometimes you strike out. Sometimes you do hit it. I don't know where we're going to see these tokens going. I don't even know where the heck BNB is going to end up being. I thought it was going to slow down a little bit, and it's just not. I'm looking right now, 585 we're at, which is not bad. I mean, in 7 days, it's up 40%. The past month, it's been 80%. So BNB is it's one of those things where people are noticing that, hey, why should I rush to buy Bitcoin when I'm only going to go up 40% by the time it gets to 100K, when I could easily do that in some other token a lot faster, whether it's BNB, maybe ETH, but some of the other smaller tokens and some of the, even the memes out there people want to grab, which is nothing wrong with that. Some people were able to go out there and grab some money, and you might as well, man. Trying to crest BlackBerry Guy. Add as a speaker. All right, you're connected, BlackBerry Guy. Give it a sec. There you go. All right, you should be good to go now.
How you doing, Ed?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, just got back from a trip to Washington D.C. I just sent a little funny post out because their airport code is DCA.
I don't think I ever noticed that. I really don't. That is hilarious.
I know that I'm really sick because I notice those things now.
Yeah, you know, when you start seeing certain little clues, it's like, oh, that has to do with my crypto. It has to do with crypto.
It's got to be a sign, you know. Just got to be
right.
a sign. Yeah. So I thought I had to share that real quickly, but yeah.
Hopefully, there's no airport with FUD as their code. We got to look it up to see if there is one.
Well, I live near Sioux City, and Sioux City's is SUX, so that's not a good one. So.
No, that's not a good one either. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, but I'm just amazed at how quickly things have bounced, even though, and a lot of it has to do with B&B, of course. But
yeah, of course.
But it's I have to say, you know, it's just nice to see. A couple of weeks ago, we were at 40 million with our treasury. Now we're back to 52, and that just gives you a lot more breathing room. And seeing us go, we were there in the high 18s there for a little bit. And now we're back to 26, and that's looking good. You know, loving to see that appreciation, and I'm sure it's, you know, it's part of the way. One of the reasons why we're connected with B&B, right, is that we have a lot of anticipation of B&B spiking, and we're beneficiaries of what's going on, that way. And I'm glad to see the improvement the last couple of weeks. We're still running the ship and running all the, getting everything taken care of in terms of running the bank, so to speak. But to see that increase taking place in the millions, that's the thing that's always crazy. 2 years ago, I joined here and we started going up with our treasury, and we'd go up in increments, small increments, and now we're dealing with multi-millions all the time. And I think that's a good sign of our maturity and where things are heading. And yeah, I'm just I continue to enjoy the ride and seeing where we're going to be going with all this.
Yeah, B&B has sure helped a lot out there to do everything that it's been doing the past week. And I've been seeing some of the buy bot in the chat, and you know, they're not all of the futures part of it. I'm seeing some regular bigger buys, and they're not just $100, $500. I'm seeing thousands, some over 10,000, and you see like 3,000, 4,000, and I see 8 or 9,000. So we're noticing a little bigger buys, not just buys.
No, that's exactly right. And I said it a couple of weeks ago too, that you start seeing these chart. You know, we all want marketing, we all want promotion, and yeah, it's an important element. But seeing that chart making that green turn and doing it in sync with pretty much, you know, with the bull market going, it's going to be very interesting, I think, in the next number of weeks. And I think the futures adaptation that we've seen happen, I think that's a real shot in the arm again, and it's really renewed. The reality is that it's just renewed a lot of confidence in a lot of people, I think, and that in itself is going to just help the whole ecosystem to run all the better. So I'm loving the uptrend, and always glad to be part of this group.
Yeah, and then, you know, if we do see something happen to B&B where everybody's like, all right, it's profit time, let me start taking out. Yeah, we're going to notice some stuff, and we'll follow it as well, both directions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you know, what some people, you know, it's a funny thing to me is that, you know, I get some people that will say, well, I don't like when adjustments are taking place in the system. Man, if we don't adjust, we die. So,
right.
You know, we have to be glad that there's somebody looking ahead to see which way the river's going, and that we could have some foresight and adjust accordingly. And that's just crypto. You know, you just have to do that. You have to adjust to things, and I think we've got that. You know, with our developer, we've got that in place, and we got a number of people who can visit with him too, and talk about what can be done positively in the days to come. And I still feel like we're on good, firm footing, and it's a trustworthy situation, and I appreciate being a part of it.
Yeah, and we don't have a set it and forget it type dev. You know, he knows what he's doing, and you got to do what you do whenever you need to do it.
Right, and people can't be that way either, right? They can't be just setting and forgetting in this system. You can't sit there and half year later say, "Hey, what's going on? What happened?" There's always something happening here, and you got to stay close. And you've always promoted that a lot in the chat too. Say, keep coming back, take a look at what's going to happen next, because we've got a person who's adjusting accordingly, and you don't survive if you don't.
Yeah, and I mean, not to. Oh, you might have seen my video on the weekend. I keep saying it because just examples that we're giving you when you set it and forget it, all the money that you missed out on. I mean, if you were here a month ago and you weren't here a month ago and you've been out, because there's people that are out longer than that. They're like, oh, it's been a few months since I've been in here. I'm like,
absolutely.
Dude, just the side contract that BT put out with Pepe Stake. I mean, we 10x'd in a month. In a month, 10x. I mean, if you were here, you would have grabbed that.
Right.
And anybody in this ecosystem over this past month, you would have known, go get that. And that's not even talking about what's happened over a year's worth of time with that. But I'm that was one example of a contract. Now we're not even talking some of the other stuff. Or if you bought an NFT last month, where is it at now? There's so many opportunities you have by you can't do this, set it and forget it, and just come back in the chat and say, hey, so it's been a while. I'm like, well, you sure missed out on a lot of money.
Well, that's it. And one of the things that as I look back on these weekly reports that I've done, which started out quite innocently, and I just stuck with it. But if I look back at some of the things that I focused on earlier, as opposed to now, I mean, the changes that have happened, that, there was peanuts and then the farms, and you had all kinds of different things going on. I think one of the first posts I ever made was like, the things that were going on then compared to what's happening today. There's just this evolution that you have to recognize. And as I said before, it's not a system where you can just you can't just think, well, I was in it late 2022. Let's go see what it is in 2024. It's got to be the same. No, it's not. It's had to evolve, and it has, and I think for the good. And but you just can't afford. I have lesser stakes or in other things that I've kind of said, well, I'm kind of done with those places. I don't have a passion for those places anymore. And if I do go back and see what has happened, I was like, wow, I'm way behind I'm way behind on what all has happened. You just can't operate like that in crypto, and certainly not in EM.
Yeah, there's only one other thing I am now in. I'm out of almost everything except one. And it's only like $1,000 maybe that's in there at the moment at the current value. And it's one of those things where I don't mind it. I could be like, yeah, take it out and go put it in here and make more money. But I was like, I'm going to do that risk where I'm just going to let it sit there and see if anything actually does happen just in case. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. That was my gamble. But
sure.
I don't mind. It's not like I have a ton of money in there and it's like, all right, this is a stupid mistake. It's chump change, simple grand, just let it sit. And if something blows up on it, something blows up on it. If not, then, maybe in a year's time, I'll be like, all right, finally, just forget it. I gave it a shot.
Right.
So as your report, do you do the NFTs in your weekly report too? You talk
just
about
a little bit. I just mentioned how many mints have taken place, and I'll mention what the APR is on Elephant. Okay. And so right now that's it's crawling, right? It's not a big thing that I cover. I tend to what I've picked up on a little bit just lately that I didn't do before, something new that I started doing, just checking the buys and sells on a weekly level, just to say, okay, are we starting to see, just curious to see how that is from week to week. how many people are buying, how many people are selling. Is the volume starting to balance out? Is it starting to trend the other way? I just noticed the last week that we just saw a big swing in terms of how many people were buying as opposed to how many people were selling. But at that point, there was still that sell volume that was still predominating. But yeah, I just, there again, I just try to change emphasis here and there and on what's, depending on what's going on. But I try to stay, I try to stay within those, what I've been calling the triple play. Futures, the EMTs, the elephant, because to me, those are the things at different times during their lifespan. Those are the things that are going to make things go for the whole system. And so I tried to stay within that parameter. But if the NFTs start to kick up again at some point, of course, now, like you said, they're over $1,000 a piece. But yeah, that can be a huge contributor to the treasury. But right now, that's not what's driving it.
Yeah, and especially with the other spots you can put your NFT up for sale. I was wondering how many people were actually maybe grabbing some at a cheaper rate, but might not have helped the ecosystem as far as that part of it, but at least they may be staking them to where they're earning something back from them as well. I know there's a lot. I don't know how many are on the marketplace right now, at least, but I mean that none of those are making any money on with the reflection of it.
Right, and that's the point. I do bring that up. I say you put it out there, and if it's on the marketplace and they're not moving, you're not getting anything from them. So I do make that point because it was like 120 or something at one time. I don't know what it is now, but yeah.
And like BT said, you put too many houses on the market. I mean, your chance of getting picked up is pretty slim unless somebody's looking for a specific color or they randomly picked your NFT. So in the meantime, if you've had your NFT on the marketplace for 2 weeks, well, you missed 30% in some gains on the elephant token that you got rewarded.
So exactly. It's like I was saying, we were at 40 million. We're right at the low 40s. Now we're in the 52 range. Well, that APR has gone up, right? So, those are things. It's like other things that, depending on what you're getting into, I guess. But to me, the NFT is just a long-term play. You buy them, you hold them, and to me, it's just the advantage. If you believe that the EM system is inevitably going to prosper, then holding them, if you can have that long-term vision, some people have to sell for different reasons, but I mean, I got into them just for that very fact that I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to hold those things for forever and a day and see where things go, because I can see that as an elephant generating part of my own strategy is looking at my elephant money holding as a foundation, and I use the NFTs and the profits that come out of that, or the proceeds that come out of that, and I throw that into the foundation and let it grow over time. And I just feel like you got to have a long term. For me, anyway, I got to have a long term mentality on those things. Use it to build up my foundation. I use my futures to act like an annuity for myself. But I use the NFTs to help build the foundation as well as DCAing into Elephant. That's the play. That's the way I play it. Bank teller's here, so I'll get off.
Hey guys, that sounds. Hey Blackberry guy.
Hey, what's up?
Hello, bank teller.
Yeah, that sounds great. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, no, futures is. How is everybody liking futures these days?
Good
Fantastic.
Time.
Yeah. I think when you see these gains in BNB, so I'm going to talk a little bit about BNB. When you see these gains in BNB, and you see the more BNB pumps, the more attractive the elephant token gets, pretty much without doing anything, or actually while rowing in the opposite direction of the markets and everything, the herd was selling. We got a flood storm and we were selling. And other people were selling for different reasons, but there was definitely a lot more selling than there needed to be. If we held strong, BNB's gains were coming, and I'm going to talk about why that's happening. But oh my God, we be at twice all-time highs by now. But we're going to get to all-time highs again, and this very much looks like the first parabola. So, for the brave that want to buy elephant, there's not a lot of whales up top to sell. So it's going to be very interesting. But BNB rising, the prospect of more elephant buys coming in, and Bertha growing in dollar value. Going to be interesting to see what Bertha looks like at the end of the week. So I look forward to your report, BlackBerry guy. But it's going to be interesting to see what the dollar value growth of Bertha is going to be for the week.
Oh, it's going to be great.
This is why futures works. This is fundamentally why futures works. This is why TradFi doesn't understand our math. But it works. But the system works. The system definitely works as long as people are playing the game. So let's talk about BNB for a second. So BNB has these launch pads. You need BNB to get onto the launch pads. That's fueling a good chunk of the growth. But also, let's not forget that Binance is the business that's tied to the hip to BNB. And anything that happens in the market, including the movement of BTC, BNB gets full exposure to that. Also, BNB is fixed supply. So BNB is constantly being burned. Let's see, really shouldn't, all of us should know this by the back of our hand, but let's see. The total supply of BNB is 153 million. So let's see. And that's being generous. So BNB's total supply is only 7.3 times larger than Bitcoin, right? So less than a 10x. So you could argue that BNB is just as good as Bitcoin, if not better. And then Elephant is just a leverage play on that because most of our pricing happens inside the liquidity pools. So we have built-in leverage play against BNB. So BNB is going to be greatly underestimated, but there is no movement that happens in this digital assets market where BNB doesn't have exposure through fees and also through market making and participation in the markets themselves. So by both Binance, BNB chain, and all holders and stakeholders that have an interest in BNB. So BNB represents the first on-chain business. And more specifically, Elephant Money represents the first financial cooperative at scale on BNB chain in all of crypto. So if I was running CoinMarketCap and if I was invested in all these different projects and stuff, I'd be scared of Elephant Money too. I might, but that's the problem. There's still a lot of corruption. Our circulating supply should be listed. We should be able to compete in the marketplace. That eventually will get resolved. But it should be clear, for all the NFT holders. Wow, look at the value of your NFTs. Those are priced in BNB. Those are honored in BNB. When Elephant moons and those things are printing, over double digits, significant double digits. I think we're over double digits now, but I'm talking about 50% APR, things like that. The mints and the buys will come in. Not to mention the fact that there are, including myself, stakeholders and participants who, are making gains in the broader market and know exactly where to bring those gains. Like, if people want to sell their NFTs for less than a B&B, in some of my plays, I could just snatch up the whole market in a day. I'm letting, like always, I give people time to get in. People remember when I sell, they don't pay any attention to my buys. So, but like, I haven't sold a single NFT. So that should give you an idea of what I think about the NFTs. I have not personally sold a single NFT. I've kept all of my creator NFTs, and then I've picked up some in addition. And I'm looking to at least grow, get 100 more. I'm waiting for, if you've been tracking some of my plays, I told you about Dog with Hat when it was still under 50 cents. I told you about Pepe when it was 100x cheaper than it is now. I told you about Solana, obviously. I told you about Bitcoin. When have I not told you about Bitcoin? So, we are cooperative. We're all in this together. And a lot of people don't understand what we're doing, but and we're international. So everyone who's participating benefits from the fact that this is happening worldwide. I think people are gonna, we'll get our time in the sun, but that time is now. If you're just looking at the charts, if you're just looking at DEX tools, objectively, it's happening all over again. It's happening very much similar, if not in the same fashion as last time. Where remember that the herd was a lot smaller than it is now, and just less than 8,000 people. Let's say 9,000, generously speaking. Less than 9,000 people got that first parabola going, and then a ton of people piled in. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at now. It was my girlfriend's birthday. I haven't taken a vacation in over 5 years. I've gone on conferences and stuff like that. So, when I go to conference, maybe I'll go looking around wherever the conference is. But other than that, I have taken 0 R&R. So took a little R&R, got a little tan. And now I'm back. So there's going to be some building going on. For some of you might know, there is some horse trading that happens with futures. So there are people who sell their futures accounts. It could be anywhere from 50% discount, 25% discount. But there are people who sell their futures accounts. And then I also talked about the Venus turbine. So I think for the turbine idea, I'm going to keep. For Venus, probably not. The interest is variable. It only is, around 20% over the year. It goes up, it goes down. But there's better things that we could put our funds into, mainly Elephant Token. I think the turbine idea, I think I can generalize it a little bit and put some governance contracts on it. So basically what the turbine idea is, and I've thought about this stuff while on the 5-day vacation, but could you even tell I was on vacation? Because I was still on Telegram. See, I never am fully gone. Like my ears are always there. I always check in day and night because my responsibility as custodian until I burn these keys is to keep us all, keep our money safe. I don't have to do much. Bertha takes care of it. The contracts take care of it all. But until it's not done, until it's done, right? And so we're trying to get this thing built for the long haul. So following the footsteps of Bertha, the turbine will probably just be my idea is to actually make the turbine a BNB treasury. A Bitcoin treasury. So we'll store BTCB. We'll become the largest holder of BTCB. 10% of inflows from futures will fund this BTCB treasury. And then we'll just throw some governance contracts on it. So, we'll have a governance contract that will probably just buy Elephant. So we'll have another buyer of Elephant, but we'll grow with Bitcoin and we'll be a large holder of Bitcoin over time. So that's the strategy. So we'll capture our inbound volume, which should continue to increase. Each one is critical. Everyone in the world wants 0.5% fixed. And if you use the system correctly, you can get 0.5 fixed. All you have to do is just deposit at least once or twice a month, and you get 0.5 fixed with the way things are looking. Then the larger we get, the more the community share should grow, the larger the window should be. But still, as a good citizen, as a good member of this community, of this cooperative, depositing once or twice a month is suggested. Do your own research, not financial advice. I'm not your mama, I'm not your papa. It's crazy to me that well, I'm not going to get into that, but basically, we have the best. What we have is in traditional TradFi, this where these things are normally offered by insurance companies, but what we basically have, and they're regulated mainly at the state level, but there's also some regulation at the SEC level, at least in the United States. But what we have is an immediate annuity. Immediate annuities, you make a deposit. That deposit is forfeit, and you receive instant interest. We have the best immediate annuity in the world. Literally, we have the best immediate annuity in the world. We've been doing some data analysis on futures. Every single participant in futures is in profit. People have to, understand futures, but everyone who's participating is in profit. It's a beautiful thing. So we've been doing some analysis, and we'll probably share some of that shortly. But the next thing. So we talked about basically the Bitcoin turbine. Basically, be a Bitcoin turbine. It'll look very much like a mini Bertha with Bitcoin in it, and it'll have governance contracts. The first one, main one, being like a 1%, 2% APR that is used to buy back Elephant. So it's almost like a small pit stop, so that we can capture the gains in Bitcoin. So instead of just sending that 10% of revenue from futures directly to Bertha, we pit stop it in this Bitcoin turbine, and by doing that, by virtue of doing that, we become the largest Bitcoin holder on chain, on BNB chain. And hopefully, if Bitcoin does go to $1 million and all that stuff, we're going to be sitting pretty, because we have awesome volume. So more reason for people to just turn your brain off, do your research, understand futures. But once you do that, from a DCA perspective into futures, turn your brain off and just execute. Stop thinking about it, execute. And, there are people who are happily retired off of futures. And the more we just socialize this, and because All of these types of vehicles, including the Bitcoin ETFs, require socialization. They require promotion. They require marketing. Fidelity is using their whole they're using their whole advisor network. For like Fidelity, like basically people get paid to promote the products and stuff like that. There's a whole network to support those people who, that basically do the each one teach one. So similarly, like, we do it all, as community members, as owners, as stakeholders in this protocol and in this community. We do that a little bit more directly, but that's how it works. This doesn't happen. Bitcoin, it took 16 years for Bitcoin to get properly socialized, right? Who's one of our biggest cheerleaders in the Bitcoin space? Michael Saylor, right? He's rubbing elbows with, Bezos and Drake, and Drake just posted to his 146 million followers, right? So that's 14% of a billion people, right? So that's why we got it. That's why each one teach one matters. Bitcoin requires more people to work. More inflows have to come into Bitcoin for it to work, period. People have to believe that that's the place where they need to put their dirty fiat for this to work. So, there is no shame in our game by, each one teach one, socializing this very powerful on-chain experiment, right? So we're all in the right place and we're all early. Bitcoin was vilified. Bitcoin was called a scam, a Ponzi, this, that, and the other, bad for the environment. Now AI is using twice, thrice, going on 10 times that much in energy than Bitcoin does. With all these AI powered brains, I watched a video about an AI called Devin. It's an AGI. It's artificial generalized intelligence. Devin is the first AI software engineer. It has its own shell, like command line shell. It has its own editor. It has its own browser. If you ask it something, it can go out on the internet and research it. You can send it a blog post, and like that blog post might be about some new technology. It might be about it could be about anything related to anything. And you could ask Devin to just code up something, and Devin will code. It will code a complete project and deploy it all by itself. It knows how to use Netlify, one of the standardized tools for deploying code. I'm sure I'm excited to see what it knows about GCP, like and Amazon Web Services, like Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services. What else? Blockchain, obviously. Probably could tell Devin to, code up just something blockchain related. I can give it some of my code bases, like for our chat bot. You can say, hey, Devin, take this chat bot, deploy it on Netlify, get it all working, fix a couple bugs. It could probably do that without too much extra work. So yeah, this is amazing stuff. What this means is, like, software development is like one of the it's magic, right? And for something to fully understand human knowledge, fully understand communication, fully understand end to end both the business side and the execution, to be a competent, better than fledgling software engineer, actually build things end to end and deploy them. It's over, folks. It learns, it remembers, it understands and remembers what it's doing every step of the way. It uses software debugging techniques, just like experienced OG coders. It does know how to do print line, print line debugging, where it'll just add a bunch of statements that said, they're basically leaving breadcrumbs to say what in the flow of execution was it here. If it wasn't, then from that it understands what the program is actually doing, and then it can find the bugs and fix them. This is the whole ballgame, folks. This is why Google, I think Google specifically and Facebook, are laying off engineers. This is why. Because they've had versions of Devin for quite a while now. But this, being as close to the metal as possible, of course, this is where, along with like all the things that you see in like, AI generated art and things like that, of course, they would be able to master software development. There's just so much data, and it's all organized in a beautiful way, right? In GitHub, it's all there. There's so much to understand about. You can, like, the AI can actually look at issues in software that have been resolved, and the history is all there in GitHub. So it actually understands, how to go from problematic software to perfectly working software. Like, they had an example where the AI optimized another AI, because there's optimization software that helps optimize LLMs for particular tasks. So they're finding out that these large language models are sort of generalized AI brains that can be pushed in certain ways to perform certain specific activities more efficiently. So, and then you can build these LLMs smaller. They don't have to have as many parameters in and out, things like that. Anyway, diving into the weeds. All of that's to say is, if you're not, like, I was on a jet ski and I had a jet ski instructor, and it's going to be a while before a Tesla bot takes his job, if ever, right? I don't want to be looking at a Tesla bot. I want to be looking at somebody sun-kissed who knows every area of the reef and has experiences about the food that he eats, after he gets off of work, and what's cool downtown and stuff like that. So if you're in those types of areas, where it's customer service, but it's human facing, it's recreational service, hospitality, right? You're going to be fine. If you're a bartender, you're not going to be replaced by a robot bartender. That's just not going to happen. So, if you're anything that requires showing little skin, anything that requires using your voice, the masseuse is not going to get replaced by a robot. So like, I'm a little achy from the jet ski stuff, and I could use a massage. So the robot's not going to be touching my skin. So, like, but when you call Amazon because you didn't get your package, or if you're interfacing with a gas company, and you're not a serviceman coming out and going into people's homes, like stuff like that. Anywhere where people are interfacing digitally, there's a chance. There's a really strong chance. So all that's to say, you need to strongly be investor class. Like, you have to stop thinking about, oh, I'm dabbling in crypto just to make a little bit of gains or long-term retirement. Like, now is the time. You have to. When I was begging you guys, begging, buy these coins cheap, get this elephant cheap, get this BNB cheap. All of that, it was because this was coming. Like, we knew the ETFs were coming. I knew exactly what Fidelity was going to do with the ETFs. Like, exactly, because I know their playbook. I know how they make money. It was never a question. So it was all about just timing. And for those of you who are well positioned and things like that, then you knew what you were doing. For those that just panic sold, things like that, scoop up. You just got to get back in. If you hear me now, make sure you're in, because elephant's still less than 30 cents per million, right? Elephant's still less than 30 cents per million. So we got still a little ways to go before we get back to all-time highs, but you'll be positioned, and you know that both BNB and other folks coming in, even people like myself coming in, are going to be pumping those bags back up to all-time highs and beyond. It's going to be fairly trivial to do if we just ride the back of BNB at this point. We're the second largest holder of BNB on chain. So a lot of projects and things like that are chasing gains elsewhere. We're here. People made prudent decisions, but we're still here. We're still strong. I don't know what the liquidity is at, but we have a lot. We have about half as much BNB as we were almost at 100,000 BNB. I think now we're at 50 something BNB. So we dumped half our BNB, but yet the liquidity dollar value is very high. And I actually see the liquidity dollar value going higher than it's ever been in the next 90 days. So now is the time. Do your own research. I am not a financial advisor. Oh, by the way, no one is responsible for your gains or losses in DeFi, in crypto in general. You sign every transaction personally. It is all you. If you go crying to others, just realize that it was ultimately your decision. And you have to be accountable for both your wins and losses. I'll just leave it at that. You have to be accountable for your wins and your losses. And I hope that more clarity around that fact happens internationally. Yeah, just some quick questions. And if we get cut off, that's fine. But, let's try to get some quick questions in and wrap up. Oh, shoot. You know what? There was one thing. So the only other thing is probably another 10% will go to this liquidation facility that I've been thinking about. So for futures, 10% of inbound flows also, in addition to the BTC turbine, there'll be 10% going to a community liquidation fund. So basically the way that works is 10% inflows come in, and people in an emergency situation, you can liquidate your futures balance, or a portion of your futures balance, however you select. You can liquidate a portion of it against the emergency fund. Your liquidation can't be more than 10% of the fund. That 10% of the fund will have a cap, like say $1 million, and it just constantly gets fed. Whatever's in it is used to help liquidate futures positions if people want to liquidate. And it'll probably be 50%. It'll probably be a 50% tax on that. So basically, say if you want to liquidate a certain percentage, if you want to liquidate, like say 100, say you have $1,000 principal position in futures. If you want to liquidate 100 of that, you would only get $50 worth of the claimed amount. But it would allow you to make prudent decisions to say, hey, I'm really in a bind, or I really need this right now. It's going to be a 50% hit, but you don't have to, instead of 0.5% a day, obviously you could you could pull out more than that, but it will be a 50% hit. So it doesn't make sense versus just claiming out. But if it's an emergency situation, the entire community is behind you and supporting you to help you, get some funds. And so you can use that facility without having to sell your account. There is a chance that I may consider 75%, and I'm probably going to put a poll out. Because there's a cap, and because it's only because there's a cap, and because it only is 10% max of the fund at any given time per address, and for those factors, and because there's ultimately a cap, and because it's only being funded by 10% of inflows, there is a chance that I might bump that up to 75%. So you could get back 75% of the liquidated amount of the liquidated amount, and then there'll be some cool off. So like say, 10%, and then 10% of the entire fund is a max that any wallet can claim against. So this could actually work for whales as well. But then there'd be some cool off period, like say seven days or something like that. So that if others need it within a particular time window, they have an opportunity to get in and use it. So it's on a first come, first served basis. But the stronger that the entire ecosystem is, the stronger that futures is. If we can 10x the number of participants in volume in futures, then something like this liquidation fund could work. And it has no negative impact on Bertha, and it's a flash in the pan. We can do a lot with our inflows, which is why we're putting in the work in the turbines, why we're putting in the work in this liquidation community fund. What this ultimately means is it takes a lot of the fear, especially for smaller players, minnows, dolphins. It just takes the fear out of participation. You can get into this, you can use it as intended, and if you do run into hard times, the entire elephant money community is there for you. And this is something that is absolutely unheard of in the TradFi space. In the TradFi space, there is no such thing as an immediate annuity that allows you to surrender. Like usually there's surrender terms that are out 8 years, 8 years before you could ever pull out your money without significant fees and penalties. So, but this allows people to get in, to do what they need to do to grow their future. But at the same time, if the worst happens, they can make a prudent decision and liquidate a portion of their futures position if there's no other way. But in a bull market, there should be plenty of ways. So we should be able to see this facility just be awesome for the community and really solidify futures for the long term and make it the premier way to earn variable interest. That pretty much pays out 0.5% unless you really don't know what you're doing. So you got to know how to drive the car. Any quick questions? It's 12 o'clock. We could just break here, but any quick questions or comments? Actually, as a matter of fact, why don't we break here and we'll just take the questions over at Telegram.